more that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.
All right, social media, welcome. Brenda from B Branding, you're killing me. When love ends, but the lease doesn't. Breaking up the right way. Wow, is there a right way? Great question. Welcome all on social media to our weekly Tuesday lives. We do these on all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And I'm thrilled to do them because they allow me to speak extemporaneously and apply, some of the thinking and approaches that we cherish in crisis de-escalation to some of life's common problems. And this is certainly not an uncommon problem. People in relationship break up all the time. Very often, there is a shared dwelling or shared possessions. In the most human cases, people share children. And we have to try to make sense of, the matters of, distributing these things that may have been accumulated while together in a way that is as peaceful as possible to avoid conflict. I'm sure that many of you can identify with this experience of maybe living with a romantic partner or acquiring property with a romantic partner, and then that relationship changes, and then the business of getting into distributing, things that were acquired together or that people lay claim to can be very, very problematic. I think first what I would say is that intimate relationships, romantic relationships, are the relationships in which we, generally speaking, place the most need of another human being. Our needs are placed at the feet of another human being. Love is uh, love is the activity of, this is one definition, of serving other people's needs. And in intimate relationship, there's reciprocity. To some degree, it would be contended as there's some transactional component. I think it's hard to ignore that. Um, but it's also very moving when we see, let's say, serious physical or mental illness befall someone in a romantic relationship, and then the partner lives in the service of the other human being. That's an expression of love, I think, at its height. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the more common, everyday kind of event that we have to manage, which is this business of sharing property. Now, the title of this discussion today might suggest that I have some special answers to this. I do not. I deal in a business of likelihoods when it comes to crisis negotiation. What we're trying to affect are likelihoods of agreement. We're trying to affect likelihoods of agreement. And we do that by a set of principles that don't make things worse in our interactions and dialogue with other people. So the difficulty with this particular topic is that when we break up in romantic relationship or intimate partnership, and we have to talk about property, we're having to navigate very often the very aroused state or sensitivity that we can have in our interactions with this other person, while dealing with the complexity of distributing stuff. By the way, there are entire practices of law and mediation that go right to this problem set. And they go right to this problem set because the nature of the relationship sets the stage for the sensitivity. It's not unusual for people to step into the space between two people to help navigate this, hopefully peacefully. Sadly, there are actors that step into this space and try to advantage in a rivalrous way one party over another. I think divorce attorneys are very, very familiar with this. And then also the process itself can be leveraged by one party or both to try to exact some kind of retaliation or pain or discomfort on another human being. But let's talk about likelihoods. I do have some experience being in close relationship and having to navigate the subject of property distribution or helping others do that. And I'd say the first order of business when we start to go down that road, in the technical sense, is to give each party an opportunity to be heard in an unfettered way. Now, if we engage our active listening skills and we truly listen to someone making their case about why they want this or that, we get an awful lot of data about what might be motivating them to make some claims that could be unreasonable. We might hear the hurt in their argument. We might hear the pride or justification in their argument for the property that they want. And I think a reasonable proposition after both parties have made their claims is to root out the stuff that's not part of, I shouldn't say stuff, to root out the attributes in their claims that are not related to the stuff, to try to separate out the hurt, the injustice, the unfairness, and to try to limit how much property distribution is going to be influenced by those things. Mediation can be particularly valuable in sorting some of those complexities out. And I would say that the complexities of property are the challenge to navigate when people are so predisposed to high emotional arousal because the nature of the relationship was one in which people were very vulnerable. They placed need at the feet of one another, and now that's going to end. So maybe in your own experience, you can reconcile with this. I can certainly remember feeling all kinds of fear, reticence, a desire to be retaliatory in navigating some of those things. I felt those impulses, and I'd say the impulses are quite natural. The impulses are the impulses. You have to decide what you're going to do about this when navigating. So let's take a look at some ways at which the principles of validation, deferral, suggestion, and description might be useful in thinking about a conversation between two people that's not being mediated. So after a period, maybe an agreement, look, for the next 5 minutes, I want you to feel completely safe in making your claims and to present your rationale. And I will not interrupt you. I'll take notes. And then I'm going to ask you to reciprocate. Someone's got to start. And you're going to know pretty quickly when someone begins to speak in an unfettered and uninterrupted way how much the stuff is being leveraged to attend to needs that that person has. A need to be heard, a need to be understood, a need to be recognized, a need to be respected, a need to be secure. You may hear all of that in their claim to the stuff. Now, when it's your turn to go, I don't suggest you start to attend to those connections yet, but then make your claim in the very first person that it could possibly be made. Look, this is where we were. This is what happened. Moving forward, these are the things that are important to me, and this is why. Hopefully, both people are at least willing to listen, and hopefully you are listening very, very sensitively to the intelligence that you're getting by someone else's claims to see how much their personal needs are getting wrapped into the stuff. And then you're going to have to think about, or what, not you have to, I would suggest you think about to what degree you want to assert your needs for certain things. It's not unusual for many people in intimate relationships that break up for someone to feel as though they left a lot on the table. They live with regret in some cases over not being assertive enough about this thing or that thing. And they think about that because they recall that if they do assert themselves, they're going to be met with a bunch of resistance. I would suggest that this is not going to happen in a conversation, but it's going to happen in a process. And I would suggest that the formula follow the lines of allowing one another uninterrupted, unfettered time to make their claim, to try to identify the connections of someone's personal, emotional, and personality-based needs and how they are wrapped up in the claims of the stuff, for you to make your needs known about the stuff, to try to be as devoid of motivations that have to do with getting a reaction out of this other person. And to even call it out when it shows up. Gee, I hear you asking for the cat. My experience of you is that you never liked the cat at all. And I'm having a hard time experiencing that your demand for the cat isn't designed to want to be hurtful toward me. I don't want to be hurtful toward you, but I do find it interesting that you want the cat, and the cat was something that you never really had any interest in. You'll know right away. You'll know right away to what extent someone is leaning into the cat to instrumentalize you. And if that's the case, just know in advance, this is going to take a lot of time to unwind. You're probably not going to get to the bottom of it in that discussion, and you may not even get to the bottom of it at all. They may land on, I want to take the cat, without verbalizing, but they know and you know they want to take the cat because it's going to hurt you. You may have to decide, what's life going to be without this cat? Now, I'm not discouraging you to lay down. I'm discouraging you to appraise to what degree do you want to assert yourself about the cat. Now, if you think that through and you make the decision, you know what? The cat's going to be the hill that I charge. I'm going up this hill for the cat. Well, then so be it. Well, then you got to go up the hill for the cat. But you can even go up the hill for the cat in a way where you're not using the cat or some other piece of property to exact your heightened emotional arousal on the other person. I heard someone say, I think it was Paul Nadeau, such a smart dude, negotiator from Canada. He said, we hear all this noise about being dispassionate in negotiations and emotions can't be in negotiations. Bullshit. They need to be managed in negotiations. And he couldn't be more right. You can manage negotiations if you're as, let's say, committed to being in your neocortex and committed to being diverse in your thought and expression, which is where that lives anatomically. You can manage your emotions in that state. Very hard to manage emotions, arguably, a lot of reasons that it's impossible, if your limbic system is activated from all of these concerns about that stem from fear or selfishness or loss or a sense of injustice. Very hard to manage emotions when those feelings are so present. So, what are we talking about here? What am I going on and on about for 14 minutes? In a discussion about sorting out property claims, the fundamental commitment needs to be self-regulation. An appraisal, number two, an appraisal of what you want to assert. What is it that you want to assert yourself for, so you don't live with regret for having not said it? There are a lot of people who walk away from broken up relationships who carry the weight of regret for long periods of time because they wish they had made more of a claim to the thing. I would say in the data, fathers and residential time with their kids being a big one. Lots of dads wish they were more assertive in their rights to their children, but report after the fact that it was in the interest of avoiding a fight and attending to peace that they foregone, forgave claims to which they had right in the relationship to the children. And let me tell you something, if you waive, as a dad, if you waive residential time with your kid, you're never going to get that back. So maybe you weren't anticipating that the message was to be assertive when navigating property claims with intimate partners that are that you're no longer in relationship with. But you can be assertive in a way that's non-offensive. You can state what you need and let another human being know the cat's important to me. You know the cat's important to me. I have a feeling that your claim to the cat is designed to be hurtful. Can we explore another way to get that need met for you that I got to pay for something? I'm just interested in the cat. Can we separate the cat from your ire with me, your ilk with me? That would be a great step forward. And maybe I'm willing to, make some concessions that you feel as though I'm being unreasonable about. But this is not an easy topic. There has to be a fundamental commitment to being assertive, non-offensively. There has to be a fundamental commitment, at least by one of the people, to being self-regulated. And that will leverage the likelihood of the most peaceable outcome possible. If you have two people that are completely bent on using stuff to instrumentalize their pain, their suffering, and pursue retaliation, this is not going to go well. So the invitation is to accept the hurt, accept the discomfort, accept this is not going to be easy. And as we say in 12-step recovery, the only way out is through. There's no real avoiding the shit sandwich. Every side of it is not going to be good. So if you can stay committed to being non-offensively assertive, to not using the property to instrumentalize impulses of wanting to retaliate or hurt or get back at, and to be committed to the principle of self-regulation, managing your emotional state, I think you're going to maximize your likelihood. Really great live, Brenda. Please stop giving me these 400 level courses in these lives that I do on Tuesday. The title, I nearly fell over. When Love Ends, But the Lease Doesn't. On Thursday, we'll be hosting another live at 4 p.m. Pacific on the Jumpstart Mastery Network. I hope you'll join us. And thank you so much for your loyalty and your interest in the work that we do. All the very best to you. Take good care.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Or that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.